everyone! Happy to see you here or there. And I'm just checking 1212 if I am audible on LinkedIn, so bear with me. And then I'm going, before I present the next guest, and before I am showing some things, I'm just aware that I am LinkedIn live, yes, and I am live, yes, and I love my mic, by the way. But no, before presenting the next guest, I would like to thank again, uh, not my sponsors, but the people that I'm really blessed. I'm really blessed to show. And the first one is hopefully yes, the Hounds of Business. So thank you, Mike, for an amazing community of the amazing hounds. So Mike is amazing, and then of course Susanna, the one behind Beyond Boundaries, Beyond Boxes, and also Rebuild with a Cause, the new anthology that was getting out. And then, of course, partnering with CJ, Dr. Constance Leland, an amazing queen. And is it this picture? Yes, Rebel with a Cause is now, aside the Kindle version of last week, there is also the paper version. So feel free. This is also to pay tribute to our sister Jess, who passed away more than 6 weeks ago. So, and then also the 50 inspirational connections, where we are all from, Michelle and Sharon. And also, I wonder if it's this one. Yes, it's another thing. And yeah, this is also to highlight bridging the educational gap between home and school from our sisters Christine Lynn Jones and Christine Lynn Norway. And last but not least, going also to share my new logo, thanks to Jenlin. It's to empower our sister Jenlin. They are amazing, and they created my logo, and I'm really blessed about that. And I think it's all because I'm running off pictures. So with that, I am also inviting you to join the stage at any point on time. There is the QR code out there, and there is the link all around on my feed, on my comments. And so, enough of me talking. No, I am presenting Sharon and Michelle. So first, Sharon, feel free to share.
Hello, everybody. I am so happy to be here with Ollie and Michelle. Hello, Homer. Thank you for joining us. So it's another edition of Saturday Mental Health. And for me, every day is Mental Health Day because mental health needs to be getting as much attention, respect, and priority as our physical health does. And every one of us should be taking at least 5 minutes a day. It should be more, but at least 5 minutes a day where we're intentionally, sorry, I had to think of the word, intentionally taking mental health breaks. Because if you don't recharge your battery, physical and mental, you will be of no use to yourself or anybody else for that matter. So, I'm just happy to be here and happy to be amongst the company of these two wonderful, amazing individuals. And with that, I will say, Ollie, if you'd like to let Michelle introduce herself, let's go
Of
for it.
course, let the dragoness speak.
The dragoness. I don't know about that one. I'm Michelle Ramos, founder of Don't Raise Statistics. I am here with Sharon and Ollie. This is a great way to spend Saturdays. We do it often. I like how we change it up and we get sporadic. So today we're going to be anything positive and uplifting. So I'm really excited, smiling, because it's like there's always like mental health has the negative side and it has the side that we obviously need the awareness and stuff, but I'm excited today that we're going to be bringing awareness, like showing people that you can smile and be happy. You could be like in the middle of a shitstorm, you can still smile and not feel guilty about it. So I'm really excited for today.
So I was just joking with my hoodie, by the way, but I love to play the hoodie man. So my name is Ollie, and I am a human in nature and a neuro language guide. I try not to use not the C word, um, not crap, but coach. But it's such a just funny. So I was going to joke and dropping some pancakes sometimes. So bear with me. And so what passionate me is about elevating each other's through positivity, finding the light within and then the light outside. I think I truly believe that we cannot see the light outside if we don't see the light within. But at some point, the light within is shut off. So we have we need probably the light outside, and I'm really glad that both of you, aside some other people, are like supernovas. They have an extensive, amazing amount of light, which doesn't mean that there is no challenge sometimes. And sometimes your light is off, is really shut down. That's why it's important to be surrounded by amazing people that are able to lit up your inner light so that you can share your light to thousands and thousands of people when you have your light. So enough of me blah, 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 talking, and whoever wants to yield the mic, this is yours.
Well, I'll go. I like what you said, Ollie. I will be the first one to say, like, it's hard to live a life of adversity and go through different trials and tribulations, and then you get stuck on that dark path, and then sometimes it is hard to see that light. So it's really important to make sure that the village that you're surrounding yourself with, you have to like have the trust in the people that you're putting in your circle to allow them to light that path for you when you can't light it up yourself. And I think that that's like an important factor that, for myself personally has taken some work, and it's taken some real commitment to like being honest and accountable with myself as far as trusting other people and knowing that like maybe I can be vulnerable and I can share this intimate side of me and it's not going to be weaponized against me. And when you realize that you have that village that's able to rally around you and let you be vulnerable and let you be honest and tell them like, man, it's really dark right now, but then let them shine their light for you. And that's a huge, I think there's a disconnect in understanding how to recognize these beacons, but also a disconnect in learning how to trust yourself to be vulnerable at those levels.
Thank you.
I
And
would,
now, Sharon, what are your thoughts?
yeah, I just want, thank you, Ollie. I just wanted to add to what Michelle said is it's very true. Who you surround yourself with is very important. And your circle does not have to be a large one. It
No.
can be, I, I focus more on quality of a circle than I do the quantity in the circle. And so but what I also wanted to say in terms of making sure of who's in your circle with, in terms of who you can be vulnerable with and who's going to not use the information to come, to use it
The
against,
weaponize.
to
Yeah.
weaponize. Thank you. I heard somebody use a phrase once, so it's not my own, but it is one that I have put into my own vernacular, which is partner in believing or partners in believing, and they are the people that I can go to when I'm not able to believe in myself, when my self-doubt creeps in or my imposter syndrome creeps in. I can go to my partners in believing and I can pull on their energy of belief in me until I can have that belief in myself again. And those partners in believing will not weaponize the fact that I'm not believing in myself. They will empower me to believe in myself again. So I want to encourage everybody to be intentional, very intentional about your inner circle, and be very intentional about who you pick as your partners in believing. And you can have more than one. You don't
Mhm.
need to have more than one, but you can have more than one.
And it's
So
important to remember you're not meant to be in everybody's circle. You don't have to be. And that's important. A lot of people think they got to spread themselves thin to go here and here and here and here. And like that's one thing Keith has really showed me, and I'm really thankful. Is like, Michelle, like you're your own jewel. You don't gotta like bust yourself into shards of a jewel to be here and here. Like you don't, and there's more value in that, I think.
mhm.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing, Sharon and Michelle. And before I yield the mic to amazing Stephen, I will really remind you that you are welcome in the stage or in the audience to ask questions to each others and also to join the stage because this time is ours. And I'm really blessed that Stephen joined and everyone, in fact, and also in the audience, you are welcome because you this time is ours and it's not going to be back. There is no replay on life. I'm really blessed to see four amazing angels, including me. I pat me on stage, and more angels on stage equals more light in heaven on earth. So now I yield the mic to Stephen. Let's hear about you, your life, your whatever you want to share.
So I love this idea, especially when we're talking about mental health. I prefer to call mental wellness because it's this idea of shifting the focus from what is wrong to what is right, and then discovering what works for each one of us. And when we have people sharing their stories and each one of us coming through, we can encourage one another. And I loved really what Michelle said earlier in Angelica's room, which is, the solution doesn't have the solution that you put forward, or I put forward, or Sharon puts forward, or Ali puts forward. It may not be the solution or the right answer for the person, but it opens up the realm of possibility that something out there may work for you. And it's this idea that let's work together and let's find what works for you. So as we talk about this, such wisdom comes. One of my favorite books is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and it's this idea that the collective environment, extracting that wisdom from each other, is really what will help solve the problems and what will guide us, and it's what will bring about a better life. So I'm just really excited to be here to share wisdom and to bask in that this belief in this idea that we can each have a better life, and that's actually the name of my podcast, the Better Life series. It's about talking to one another, about being there with one another to understand, to explore, and to find out, that each one of us can have a better life. And I love the idea that we can become more confident, we can find our message, and that everyone that's listening, everyone, it doesn't matter where we're at in the scale of progression. What you were sharing a little bit when I came on was about, vulnerability and oversharing and some of these things.
Mhm.
But the thing is, as we go through this progression curve of healing, and so we start off, and I think it's, the first thing that we can do is we can talk about it, right? Because we're seeking validation, we're trying to understand, we're going through all that. The next thing that we do is we'll start maybe journaling, and we'll have a healing process that comes from journaling. So we'll be writing about it. And I think we get so good at that we can actually start talking to others and teaching them, right, by either coaching or doing something else to help them on their healing journey as well. And then I think we actually, go even the next step, and we might actually go into writing again and write a book about it, or do some chapter. And you were mentioning, the collaborative effort that you're all on in writing the book. And I think the final step is that you create a community, or you actually create a place where you can teach others to go through the same process that you went through. So you're now empowering others to empower others, and that is the ultimate place of growth. So thank you all for what you do, and thank you for the open invitation to come on and jump on the stage, Ali.
With
Thank
joy.
you.
Thank you so much, Stephen. It's such a delight to see you, not only on my stage, but on many other stages and organizing this. Your sessions are missing to me, but at the same time, my agenda is more and more difficult. But I'm really happy when I come to your sessions because it's really about interactions and empowering each others. And so for me, it's like realizing that it's intentional. It has to be intentionally structured because if it's not structured, then we are in the wild pool. Wild pool of what's happening externally. And then we are becoming like these sheeple reacting to what's happening to our local communities or the news, whatever. And if we don't intentionally set aside a moment where it's only me time on our agenda, then we are caught on drama and on news, and we are participating in the chaos. I truly believe more and more that we, each of us, could play a part to say, okay, let's have boundaries. Is it serving me? Is it making me joyful? Is this meaningful according to my values? Then yes. The rest, back, like away. Because at some point there will be always people, even because I'm a people pleaser. So even things that are not in my values or not in my mission, I say yes. I take time. I go in there. I go to 65 sessions per week, whatever. And I am overwhelmed, and I want to please people. Like, hey, thank you so much for joining. But then it's not really serving my mission, and it's not allowing me to realize that I move forward myself, because there is only one Steven, there is only one Michelle, there is only one Ollie, there is only one Sharon, there is only one of Susanna, Omer, uh, CJ. Amazing to see you. So it's about giving, hey, thank you so much for organizing this, and at the same time saying, oh, I need some time for reflecting on myself. Oh, I work on a project right now. I'm so sorry, but I cannot join. So more and more I think I'm going to do that, because I am going now to have really 4,444 subscribers. I love that number, by the way. But at some point I cannot be on even if 5% of them are going to make one event per week, I'm not going to be able to attend 60 events per week. So it's really to choose what is in my value, and to say no more, to say yes to me, and to say yes to what is really in my value, which is about languages, and elevating through my creativity, languages, and also mental health. That's why I keep continuing to make my Saturday mental health, because I myself elevate by holding the space for me and for everyone here. I wouldn't be able to elevate myself if I am not elevating others, because I'm not such in a point, like I'm not a monk, like so I need to elevate others so that I elevate with you. So with that, I yield the mic to anyone who like, and
Uh,
feel free to join the stage also.
I just wanted to, I just
Ollie,
wanted
if
to
I,
jump in, Nolly. Oh, go ahead,
oh,
Sharon.
go ahead, Stephen. No, it's okay. Go ahead,
I,
Stephen. I'll wait.
oh, so I was just I wanted to celebrate your comment. And the comment is that, many of us have taken time off from digital, digital sources, even from LinkedIn or from Facebook or whatever. It's finding why we do what we do. And what I wanted to celebrate in what you're doing is the people that are out there that have the connection, right? That are doing this because they would do it to an audience of one or to 1,000. They do it because the message is there. They're not doing it for the people that show up. And so even though I love it when you show up to the events, my worth, my value is not contingent on you being there. And so, I don't want you to ever feel bad by not showing up. And plus the events are recorded. You can come join them anyways. But I just wanted to say, and I'll keep it brief, is that the reason that most people that are authentic, that actually have a real message, we do it because of the message. It has nothing to do with what we're gaining in the immediate moment, and we get better as we go along. So yes, if you feel that you're being overtaxed, and rethink that. I mean, if you're being drawn to participate in different events and you feel like your friendship is contingent on you showing up for that person, that's a big ask for somebody else. It's an
Yeah.
exchange related relationship, and the best friends are ones that will support you no matter what. As long as what they're asking, as long as you're supporting them and it's in alignment with your values, then everyone comes away with an amazing connection. So that's all I wanted to add. Sorry
You,
for jumping in, Sharon.
no, it's okay. No, no worries there. Um, so we can't be all things for all people,
No.
and we cannot. There are going to be people that we're inadvertently going to offend or hurt their feelings. Those that know us well will know that that's not our intention, and they will give us grace and forgiveness. But this is going to sound very hokey, and I know that, but it's very true. It all starts with us, because if we don't find a way to give ourselves grace and forgiveness, then we're not going to be able to be the best versions of ourselves for ourselves, and therefore for everybody else.
That's so true.
Your participation in my room, in anybody's room, should not be weighing on your heart or your head to the point where you have to be thinking, if I don't show up, what is that going to mean for my friendship or for my connection? Because if that's what's happening, then that's a red flag. And it could be a red flag of two things. And I want to be very frank here. Most of you know that I am very direct in my approach, but it's a red flag that there's something going on internally that you need in yourself that you need to look at. And then also, there may be something going on within that connection with yourself and that person that needs to be looked at. And if they're a true connection and friend, then you're going to be able to have that conversation. People often ask me, Sharon, how can I support you? And I always tell people how you can support me is help me spread my message. Help me by showing up to my rooms when you can. If what I'm posting is resonating with you, then share my posts, or share. If you can't come to my events, then share my events. Share what you know that I'm doing, or share what you know about me and my heart, so that you help me expand my reach. There's so many ways that we can be there for each other without having to feel like we need to physically be in every room, because it is not humanly possible. Ali, I want to share with you right here, right now, that you are not alone. I have cut back on what rooms I'm going into, when I'm going into them, because I wasn't, I was feeling fragmented. And even when I was in all those rooms, my head wasn't always there. My heart was, but I couldn't focus because I needed to focus on myself and what was important to me. So as long as it's connected to your why and aligned, like Stephen and Michelle said, and connected with why you do what you do, then feel free to go and feel free to jump up on stage, or comment in the comments. But none of us should ever feel like if we don't show up to a particular event, that is going to negatively impact a connection or a friendship. Because if that's what my connection means to you, then I have to really reevaluate where I want to be in that realm. And the other thing I wanted to add is this: we don't have to have all the answers. So please, everybody out there who's struggling, or even not struggling in a big way, but just kind of has this looming question of where am I going? What am I doing? Who am I? For some reason in our society, we get caught up in the thinking of, I should be able to figure this out. I should have the answer. And that is a rabbit hole that will drive you loopy, because what you should be telling yourself is, I don't have to have the answer. I can enjoy the journey to figuring out the answer, because it's about the journey. And then connect with the people that can help you maybe find the answer that you're looking for. Because I have news for you. As independent as I am, one of the lessons that I learned through my journey is none of us can do this completely alone. There is no such thing as being completely independent, because in order for any one of us to accomplish anything that we want to accomplish, we need the help of somebody somewhere to get us to the next step. It is impossible to do every facet of your life or every facet of a goal completely by yourself. So I bring this up because I want to give people hope that
Yes.
if your mental health or your mental wellness, because I do like that term better, Stephen, if your mental wellness is starting to slip or it's overcoming you, I want to remind you that is a sign. And it's a sign of many things, but the biggest thing it's a sign of is that you need to take a step back. You need to give yourself permission to step back and reevaluate and refuel, and don't be afraid. I know there's stigma out there, people. I get that, but I want to challenge you to be courageous, because in your courage you will find that you are going to affect someone in a positive way. You are going to give somebody permission to come forward as well. So please don't think you have to have all the answers. Please don't think you have to be an octopus and show up everywhere. Show up with intention, but the intention has to start with yourself first, and that's not selfish. And anybody that thinks it
Yes,
is
Sharon.
doesn't
Yes.
doesn't understand.
I'm gonna be your
So
octopus though. Tell them I leech to your face. I do. I'm your octopus. I leech to your face, right? So I really want to jump in and say, everybody's bringing up these really good points and these really valid points. And what's important to remember, I you guys have been seeing me everywhere. You know what I mean? We're not gonna lie. Whether it's Facebook, whether it's TikTok, YouTube, it doesn't matter. You're gonna see me everywhere. I'm publishing articles. I'm publishing videos. We're doing audio podcasts. Like, you're gonna see me everywhere. And the one thing that's really great is that publicly, and a lot of times jumping on stage, you're gonna hear all this amazing, very humbling words. But see, what don't nobody talk about, and what I'm not scared to talk about, is y'all should see some of the hypocrisy that pops up in my DMs when these events close. I get people up in my DMs telling me that I'm an egotistical, narcissistic person. Why do I share my story? My way isn't the only way. So there is I think that we need to be bringing conversation to the bullying and the negativity and the condescending behaviors that are happening once these cameras shut down and we're in our own world and we're dealing with our own mental stuff. And then y'all think you guys have the right to get in my DM and you come after me like this. My story ain't for you, obviously, sweetheart. My story is for the one person that felt like they wanted to go and kill themselves last night. And they heard my story and they knew that because of what I survived, what they're going through probably ain't that bad. And they're going to keep it going and they're going to keep fighting. And that's one thing. Today's positivity. And that's one thing I need to address. I am the most happiest, upfront, go lucky person. You will come to me and I will do anything. We're going to cry together for 24 hours. But after that, don't have a conversation with me if it ain't going to be about solutions. And if you feel the need to get in my DMs with this negativity and the hypocrisy and these condescending things, I'm not everybody's cup of tea. My story is not meant for everybody, and I don't care. But what I do care about is who it's resonating with and who found that hope, who found that inspiration, because that is the person that I want to go hug. That is the person I want to uplift and highlight and tell them how amazing they're doing, because I've been knocked down my whole life. And all you guys do is just keep fueling me to get louder and go bolder and be stronger. So, be positive. Mental wellness already is negative. All the stigma around it is already debilitating. We don't need to add more debilitating negative conjuncture to it when we can just be happy, uplifting, kind people. That I'm gonna drop it with that.
if
If
here's the
if
Thank
thing,
you.
I sorry.
go ahead, Crystal. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, if I wasn't holding my phone because I'm at my nephew's birthday party, I'd be giving you big hearts right now, Michelle. Um, because well said. You know, none of us are everybody's cup of tea. And you know what? That's fine and dandy.
That's why
But
Charger ain't talking. Sorry.
we all share our stories for that one person that it does resonate with, that it does help. And that's
I think
why
we,
I do
yeah.
what I do, what Ollie does, what he does, why Steven does, why Sharon and I work so hard, why we all do, why Dr. CJ, Steve, why we all work in the field that we do as influencers, speakers, writers, teachers, all of it. We're here trying to help others
There's
gain
an
their
old
voices,
adage.
all of it.
Sorry,
So
Crystal.
I just wanted to say thank you, Michelle. And I did share the YouTube stream from your page,
Thank you for that.
Michelle, because
Thank you.
I couldn't. I tried to do it for you, Ollie, but it wouldn't let me. So hopefully.
Thank you. Thank you for that,
Mhm.
Crystal. Before I
Mhm.
leave the mic, thank you, CJ. I'm just going to quote the last bit. So stay on your values and be kind, be discerning, and watch who you have in your circle. Sometimes they hurt you more than you know. That's it. So with that, Crystal, thank you so much for joining. And I don't know how much time do you have here, but I yield the mic to you if you like to share.
Thank you. Um, honestly, I love this conversation about, elevating. I mean, Sharon is right. I don't get upset if somebody doesn't come to my room. I mean, we have contacts all over the world, you know. So there's no way that everybody can come to our rooms all the time. The time differences and things like that. If you like what I like what I'm saying, then you'll catch me when you can. That's why there's replays for live streams like this, things like that. Share it, support however you can, send a heart to a post.
Exactly.
That's all it takes to show that you support, and like Michelle was saying, getting flamed in behind the scenes. Excuse my French, but F the flamers, you know,
It gets
when
brutal.
I did that the suicide awareness summit 2 weeks ago, okay, I actually had to boot someone on the YouTube side because I actually had a troll in the chat. You know what that tells me? That we're doing something right
I was just gonna say, yep.
because we are making waves.
Oh
We're
yeah.
saying the things that matter. If you're getting trolls, that means that you're doing something good. Yes, Sharon, I love you, sis. I only got a couple of minutes. I only got about
No,
30
go
more
ahead, go
seconds
ahead,
anyway. So no, no,
go
no.
ahead.
I want to hear what you say. I want to hear what
No,
you got to say, and then I got to go be with the boys.
I just want to say to something you're saying right now. A coach that I worked with a while ago told me, because I'm a people pleaser, and or I was even more of a people pleaser then than I am now. He told me that if you're getting trolls, you're exactly right, Crystal. It means that you're willing to stand up and bring up the tough stuff. And the more you're doing something right, quote unquote, the more you're going to open yourself up to the negative feedback. So, one of the ways that he helped me, and this is what I wanted to share with everybody and you, Crystal, is when you're being attacked negatively. I'm not saying you should do it, in your DMs. If it's in my DMs, I'll just block you. I'll say one thing to you and then I'll block you. But if it continues, try to learn, try to have a conversation, not necessarily full on, but say, try to. I use it as one opportunity to try and educate and be like, hey, okay, you disagree with me. I'm open to agreeing to disagree. Why don't I've actually asked somebody who disagreed with me to come into an audio room with me and have an open quote unquote debate and bring other people on stage, and they wouldn't do it. And it's fine. But the more we are putting ourselves out there to stand up for what we believe, the more we're going to get some of that negative interaction. And some of it is really intense and not fair, and really wrong. And I have a saying too, that if all you can do is look at what I'm doing and criticize me and break up my furniture to make your own look good, then you really have to look inward and see what is it in you that I'm triggering, that's being triggered in you, and really try to work on that. And so that's what I wanted to add for you, Crystal, is that and
Mhm,
Michelle and Ali, as we get
mhm.
better at what we do, more effective, I hate the word better, but more effective with what we
More
do,
efficient.
yeah, and more
Mhm,
effective,
Yes.
both, the
mhm.
more we're going to open ourselves up to
Yeah.
that negative interaction.
Mhm. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. And that's when I've learned to just take it with a grain of salt, say thank you for your opinion. Um, I'm all for a healthy debate as long as it's respectful.
You're a good one, thanking them for their opinion, because I sure the hell ain't thanking nobody for none of it. Oh my goodness.
Oh, I will kill you. I will say thank you for sharing your opinion. Have a nice day,
I'm gonna kill them with
and that's
kindness,
it.
but it ain't with a thank you. But
Yeah, but usually the thank you's filled with a lot of sarcasm.
nice.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Do you know by instance the anecdote of pluck you, like
But
the finger pluck you with it was, yeah, it's a long story, but it's a long story short. It's the response for the archers of UK in France, because they used to cut the finger to disallow them to use their arrow and to throw arrows.
yeah.
So in response, they say to the French, "Pluck you." These kind of things.
Oh
I
my
have still
god.
my finger. I can still throw arrows to you. So that's where while the big F comes from.
Or
Yeah.
my favorite, read between the lines.
Yeah.
Two is better than
Oh
one.
man. I
Sorry,
think
guys.
Stephen wanted to say something.
So good. But also, I'd like to say that using humor is a great way and a healthy way to manage your
Yeah.
mental wellness.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you from growing up, being boxed in to boxes by doctors, teachers, family, friends, bullied incessantly all throughout the latter middle school years and high school, hating getting up every day to go to school because I knew what I was going to face, but loving going to school every day because I love to learn. So it was a real dichotomy. But I survived through using my humor and being able to laugh at myself.
Oh yeah.
Because if you cannot laugh at yourself, then you're going to have a really hard time. And so, look, nobody likes to be the the brunt of a bully. Nobody likes to feel less than. But I think one of the things that I try to help my clients with is something that none of this is easy, but it's a lot simpler than we give it credit for, because human nature is to complicate things. You know, the brain is very complex and the brain can do a lot. And so we tend to make things overcomplicated. And so I like to challenge my clients and even myself when I'm getting overwhelmed and upset. How can I make this simpler? Let's dial this back and peel back the layers of the onion and see how I can make this more manageable and make it simpler and make it, baby steps or just small steps to a bigger goal. Because there's so much in this world that's out of our control, and that's just a fact. But the beautiful gift that we have is we all have the ability to search for the things and the aspects of the situations that are in our control and to start to move towards doing something about those aspects. Because when we take control of the things that we can control, that is one of the healthiest and one of the most powerful ways to make sure that you are keeping your mental wellness in check, because our mental wellness will start to fall off when we feel like we have lost control, when everything is happening around us and there's no way off or no way out. I challenge you to take a step back, call somebody if you need to, journal till your fingers or your um, fingertips fall off from writing or typing, or your mouth and lips get dry from dictating the way I do. Um, and don't edit what you're journaling. Don't edit what you're journaling. Just let it all flow. If you're going to use it to write later to tell your story, then you can start editing it. But
Raw.
when you're journaling, be really raw.
Yep.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I wanted to, compliment you on what you're sharing because it's all real wisdom. And
Thank
I
you.
also wanted to cycle completely around and kind of touch on what Michelle had said earlier about, about someone accusing you of being a narcissist. And what's interesting about that is it's something that you go through on the self-awareness journey because the more that you heal, the more that you establish boundaries. Well, to somebody else, it may seem that you're being self-centered, but the thing is we have to live our own life, right? We have to co-navigate our experience with their experience. And if you've been in a toxic relationship, most of the time that has been because you have all of these wonderful traits. You're optimistic, you are good-natured, you're resilient, you're smart. All of these qualities that make you a good target for a toxic style person, um, are things that we have to learn to fight against. So, there is such a thing as a covert narcissist, and there are people out there that will use either drama, they'll use like shock to try to tap on your empathy. Because I think the people that are also in a narcissistic type of co-exchange are highly empathic. They actually feel emotions quite deeply, and so from that place it feels a little awkward when like somebody may come up with the greatest drama, but what I found is we have to kind of check ourselves. If we're caught in an emotional loop where the person's blaming us or they're finding fault with us, and it's causing us to think about it after the fact, or even like that comment, you have to just shed it. You have to say, you know what, I'm not going to respond to that because your mental wellness, your health, is more important than that comment. And the thing that triggers is it's a chance for a little bit of self-awareness because we can kind of grow from that. And it's this fine balance. So what I found is, that distinction is one, the narcissist is going to be the one that finds fault. They're going to be the one that doesn't care about anybody else's opinion. And so if you're interested in it, like if you're worried about it, then instantly you can discount that you're a narcissist. But it's this journey of self-awareness, of empathy, and taking responsibility for your actions. Don't you notice that the trolls or the narcissists always blame somebody else for their problems?
Yes.
Right?
There's no
Oh yeah.
accountability. No accountability.
Oh
110,000%.
yeah.
That's seriously just why I wanted to bring it up is that a lot of people, and maybe they do know, maybe they don't know, but it's just like on my own personal journey, on my own end, like, I mean, you can ask like maybe Keith, I think maybe Dr. CJ. There's a few people like I've literally taken screenshots and shared them with, like what people like you just sat in my 90-minute very public event. Why didn't you say this publicly in front of everybody there supporting me? Oh, you wanted to wait until it got shut down and then slide up into my DMs and say all this negative stuff where you do this in the light. Do this in front of others.
But they
I would
won't.
love. Right. And
But they
that's why
won't.
I did bring it up though. Is like because people like I don't think that they realize like bullying is real. All these things are negatively impacting one's mental wellness, and they're little things that people probably don't even realize. Like so many people look at me and are like, "Oh my God, you're amazing and you're encouraging and your smile lights up rooms and it's infectious." But a lot of them don't know about those 20 DMs sitting there that I'm scrolling over because they're full of so much hatred. And it's like, I want people to know, like, I'm not above it. It happens to me daily. You choose your response. You choose how you feel when it happens. You don't have to, what's in those messages. You don't have to open them. You don't have to let it damper how you're feeling or what your journey is or the mission you're on. But it's important that people know, like, it does happen. Your reaction is what is going to matter.
Yeah.
I
And
also
it's a
think it's
good
important.
self-awareness journey. Go ahead,
Sorry,
Sharon.
Steve. I was just really quick. I was just going to say it's also important to mention though that no, you don't have to open the messages, and you do get to choose how it affects you. But if we're being real and raw, there are some days that those messages are going to affect you, no matter how many
Oh,
coping
yeah.
skills you have or how
Oh
much
yeah.
you know, because it really depends on where you are on that day with yourself.
But that's
So
when your
I
village comes into play. That's when you know you got
exactly,
a village you can turn to say, I'm feeling beat up today. I can't
exactly.
take it today. I'm exhausted today.
But I just wanted to
Yeah,
bring
and
up
that'll
the
be
flip side. Go ahead, Stephen.
that'll be a connection. And just quickly, it's this idea that you know, while that is true, and those hit us hard, right? It pulls your heart down. But so that keep a file on your computer of all the times that you have a celebration. Somebody tells you, you know, how wonderful you are, and when you're feeling bad, it's like, okay, go to that folder of praise, of confidence, and say, you know what, there is a reason that I do this, because if you reconnect to that positive energy, it'll help you shed that negative energy. So thanks for sharing that,
You
Michelle,
say keep
and
a
sharing.
file, but I have a gratitude journal. Like I just every day
Yep.
there's a gratitude list, and
Yep.
when I need it, I can go back to that gratitude list. Like this is
Yep.
everything I've achieved. This is what I'm thankful for.
Yeah,
Yep.
and gratitude
Well,
is the seed of happiness. Go ahead, go Ali.
yeah.
Yes,
So
Ali.
I want to take some minutes before to have a small, amazing, joyful break. First, to notice the amazingness of the VIP lounge garden. Susanna, CJ, Omer, Lisa, and everyone that I miss also. And this
Hi,
is the time
everybody.
for me to make a pause and to sing a song because it's like karaoke. And so, although it's in French, and although you will not be able to recognize, but it's I'm going to sing probably not the whole song, but I'm going to sing a small part of it. So I invite you to follow with my singing for a moment. It's my way to to have some break and to have to brrr, like the dog that is wet and that is trying to shift out the energy. So I'm going to sing. Comme un arbre dans la ville, je suis né dans le béton, coincé entre deux maisons, sans abri, sans domicile. Comme un arbre dans la ville, comme un arbre dans la ville. J'ai grandi loin des futaies, où mes frères des forêts ont fondé une famille. Comme un arbre dans la ville, entre béton et bitume. Pour pousser, je me débat, mais mes branches volent bas. Si près des autos qui fument, entre béton et bitume. So that's my little break. And I yield the mic to anyone right now, and feel free, everyone in the audience, to go on stage, and everyone in the audience and everyone on stage to ask each other's question. I'm really happy to continue this conversation still 1 hour, not more. And you are free also to jump on out whenever you want.
I know I have a DM, and it's from Arcos saying that he doesn't think that his comments are being seen. So I'm not really sure where they're going or whatnot. But I did just send him the link to join on stage because I don't know
Yeah,
anything about the
welcome.
comments and stuff. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I
So
don't
what
know.
did
It's
you?
just like I want people to see that despite how mental wellness, like you talk about it when there's depression and there's suicide and PTSD, it's always discussed in the negative aspects of things, and it's very rare that you get the conversation surrounding what is great about it. And there's so many things that can be great about it as long as you have the right village and the right resources and tools available to you.
Oh man, Michelle, you just brought up such a point that resonates with me because everything that I've ever put into a box about, whether it's, anxiety, depression, my CP, I mean, you name it, there are gifts there. My son has depression and anxiety and ADHD, and teachers and friends could never see the gifts. Well, I don't want to say never. I shouldn't say never.
No,
But
I know what you mean.
they struggled to see the
Yeah.
gifts, but he is, just to use my son as an example because I know he doesn't mind. He is one of the most compassionate, one of the most creative, out of the box thinkers. He could sing and dance and draw and paint all day long. And
Mm-hmm.
so what other people see as somebody's brokenness or something wrong with them or a deficit can actually be their greatest gift that they're meant to bring into the world. It's what lens you're looking at it through.
Yes.
And so that is one of the hardest things about keeping your mental health in check, I believe, is when other people are looking at you through their lens, or what I call a cracked lens, you need to be able to look at yourself through the clear lens. And if there's something about yourself that you want to improve or change, then work with yourself and others to help yourself improve and change that. But if you like that aspect of yourself, then just because somebody else doesn't see it for what you do doesn't mean that you should feel like you have to change it. So what, it's the saying of somebody else's trash is someone's trash is somebody
Somebody's
else's treasure.
treasure.
And
Yeah.
it's the same kind of concept. So I just wanted to piggyback on what you were saying, and I absolutely love your dog.
He had to make his appearance.
Piggyback and doggy back.
He had to make his appearance. He's doing really
Yeah.
good today, though.
You're a good boy. You're a good boy.
Yes.
I love this video, by the way. Just to share my sense, I was just watching before going on stage. I was watching this amazing guy on YouTube. I'm just sharing the screen right now. His name is Rocky Kanaka, and I was just watching this dog, which is a border collie. Is it a border collie, Michelle?
Mine is an Australian Shepherd.
Yeah, because he is amazing. So that's why you're a good boy. You're a good boy. I love his video, by the way. So that's my share of in the session.
Yeah, he's okay. He's doing good.
Well, you bring up
Yeah.
a good point, Ollie and Michelle's puppy. Another really great way to enhance your mental wellness, if you have pets, is to spend time with your pets.
Oh my gosh, yes. He was gotten to help with the healing from the fire for me and Angelina. Like both my therapist and her therapist was like very encouraging of it. Like, and in retrospect, it was probably the best thing because like at the time that we got him, I was really struggling to get out of bed and just do daily things, take a shower, cook, clean. Like the depression was just so deep after that fire.
Mhm.
Getting that puppy is like it's what I was telling my daughter. Like that's the commitment of having a child. There's doctor's appointments, there's walks, there's baths, there's commitment, and the retrospect of it, like that probably is exactly what we needed following that fire
Yeah.
because like I just was struggling to get up. Like
They gave
he
you a
didn't ask
reason.
to come to this family. He didn't, like he didn't ask. I had to take on that responsibility.
Mhm. He gave you a purpose. He gave you a
Mhm.
reason because he needed
Yeah.
you to take care of him. But also, pets, they give us unconditional love. They don't care what we look like. They don't care what we smell like. They don't care how we get around. They just pet me, rub my belly, get scratch behind my ears, feed me, take me for a walk, play
His is
with me.
fetch. His is
Yep,
fetch.
yep, yep.
What is
So there's
amazing is that they have their own personalities. It's kind of a family, and there are people that doesn't understand that, but it's okay. It's in their own heads. But when you are losing a dog or a cat, you are losing like a sister or a brother.
As a family
You know?
member, yeah.
Yeah.
mhm,
Yeah, like I couldn't imagine life without Cody now. Like in my mind, I couldn't even fathom that.
There's a
mhm.
probably inappropriate joke about unconditional love of pets, and it's take your partner and your dog, your pet, and put it or your dog and put them in the trunk, and at the end of the day, see who's glad to see you.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
gonna be the dog.
True. But I
Absolutely.
think the point of my bringing it up is this. I know before we jumped on here, we were talking about how we wanted to talk about positivity and resilience, and it's simple things that can make a really big difference. You don't have to feel like, you know, I have to be able to get away to the Caribbean, although that would be nice,
All
I'm
right,
sure.
let's
Of
go. Let's
Okay.
course.
go.
Why
Like,
not?
you don't have to twist my arm to take a vacation, but the point being that it doesn't have to be that drastic of something. It can be something as simple as calling a friend and saying, "Hey, I just need to laugh," or
Yeah. I just need a conversation that's not judged.
Yeah, let's meet for lunch. Go out in the backyard, get some sunlight, just get some fresh air. It's simple things that can make a big difference, but we don't give ourselves many times the gift of being able to do those simple things because we feel like we've been conditioned in our society to feel like, well, but I need to be doing this and I need to be doing that and I need to be doing this. And that's true, but you also need to be doing those other things.
That guilt and shame needs redefined, because that's what it is. It's the status quo of what shame and guilt is. And the moment you start doing self-care and self-love and you start doing something for yourself, we are raised where family first, family first. And then the moment you start doing something for yourself, you get that guilt and shame feeling because you're not supposed to put yourself above family. You're not supposed, like, and that's where like that's why these conversations have to happen, because it's
Mhm.
not healthy. That's not okay. And if you're not taking care of yourself and you're not pouring back into your own cup, like what you put a pan on with no water in it to boil, you burn the pan. Like, come on now. Like, you're going to burn yourself.
You are a
Yeah,
remarkable leader, Michelle.
and along with that, Michelle, it's this idea that the family, the parent that finds fault with you constantly and everything that you do, the ones that tell you that family's first, they're the ones that taught us not to set boundaries, to not have boundaries, to be emotionally attachment,
Yep.
that codependency, all of those things that the skills that we didn't have. Even tolerating when people treat us poorly, right? A lot of times people treat us poorly, and if you grow up in an environment where that's tolerated, or you're constantly being put on edge for you're to blame, everything else, you learn that that's okay, but it's not acceptable behavior. And it's that idea that true family should be there and have your back. And it's that joy and love. And what I found is that a lot of times people that have very toxic families, they will actually create a new family by choice of friends, of people that support
Yeah.
them, and then they have a loving, supporting environment around them.
And that's what I have to do. But the main key, the variable was realizing what I was exposing my child to and allowing her to believe that that was going to be healthy. Like, if anything, your family should not be treating you this way. Of everybody in the world that can treat you in any toxic way, it should not be the family that does that. And I had to like really take a step back, and I had to just, it wasn't even like see it, it's accept it. You don't just wake up and say, okay, I'm going into family estrangement, no contact. You don't just wake up and decide that. Like
Yeah.
that's a very brutal, daunting decision that you have to commit to. You don't just say it and then wake up and in a few days let them bend your boundaries and then you go right back to what it was. Like, when I've had to like stand firm in my boundary I built, even when I'm dying inside and I'm falling apart and I'm lonely, you have to think back to the ultimate reason that it took place. And my daughter will never grow up believing that it is acceptable to be treated that way just because they're family. It's like when I was raising her and she was in the toddler stage, I was the firm believer, like, don't tell my child she has to hug you. I never forced her to give hugs. I never, because that's like, okay, what if that person ends up being the child molester that you forced your child to hug them and they thought that was appropriate behavior because I've never been that parent. Like, I don't force hugs. I don't force those types of intimate interactions.
Right. And I think
Right on
that's
point. I was thinking about the consent. We need to educate our children about consent, about critical
Yes.
thinking, emotional intelligence. And I was seeing that videos many years ago at school. There are some schools that are showing a panel, and then the child has to choose which sign. Is it a hug? Is it a fist? Is it a hello? So it's not because someone is always choosing hugs, that at some point, at some day, he needs just a fist. So consent is not a checkbox. Consent is a continuous asking. It's not because you say
Yeah.
yes 30 times that the 31st the
I'm gonna
next
say
time
no on
you
the
will say yes.
32nd time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Michelle, I could so relate to what you were saying because I never forced my son to hug people.
No.
I never I I grew up in a household where, you had to respect your elders because they're your elders.
Yes.
I didn't raise my son that way
Nope.
because if people don't respect, I don't let him be me. Like I never let him be me. He's 20 now,
You
but
didn't raise him to be disrespectful. I know
right.
what
I
you
didn't
mean.
raise him to be disrespectful. Exactly. I didn't raise him to be disrespectful and mean, but I didn't raise him to just blanketly be like, okay, you're older than me, so I'm going to hug you. I'm going to kiss your brass ring. No,
Yeah.
because, you know, it's interesting, but my son will not interact with certain family members because of the way they treat him. But also, and I'm happy to say this, it breaks my heart on one level, but I'm happy to say it on another because this is more important to me because of the way they treat me.
My 12-year-old daughter has cut her own paternal biological family out because of how they treat me.
Well, that's what I'm
She's
saying.
old
Because
enough to make that decision. I'm
yeah,
not going to bash her for it. But
yeah,
she sees how you treat me and she knows I'm her mother and she knows that I'm the one showing up 24/7, 365, no days off.
yeah.
She also sees that you guys show up when it's convenient for you. Like that's not okay.
I mean, this might be so wrong to say, not wrong to say, but you know, the other thing I realized about mental health, to bring it back to, to the topic, is we can learn a lot from the younger generation, and the younger generation can learn a lot from us. I'm a firm believer in intergenerational learning, and that each has value to the other. And I was tolerating certain behaviors because I was trying to model for my son appropriate ways to deal with negative
Mhm.
interactions. And I'm still grateful that I did that. But there were times that he would come to me and say, Mom, stop, because it's not it's not okay. And I would
No.
know that it wasn't okay, but I was letting it happen because I was trying
You thought
to.
it was best for him.
Right.
So
And
if
God,
I was going to say, if it's okay, I wanted to share something because this is right on connected with a conversation that I had earlier, and it was about, someone reached out to me and was asking my advice or my input on something that had happened. It was a triggering event, and through the conversation, it actually crafted some really good talking points, and we worked it together to create like a little blog post. But it's about creating. It's the idea is that navigating triggering emotions and creating space for reflection and connection with children, and it's this idea that when you have a young child, it's you don't want to burden them with the adult concepts, and a lot of times the adult concepts, the fears that we have, aren't even appropriate. So if it's okay, I'd just like to read it quickly to you. And the idea is that life has a way of presenting situations where emotions are tested, where someone's words or actions, they trigger us, making us feel small or overwhelmed or uncomfortable. And whether it's an offhand comment, or a DM, or a request that crosses a boundary, or even subtle manipulation, those moments are often a mirror that reflect back to us where our own boundaries lie and how we respond to them when they're tested. So, but what happens when we need to navigate these emotions are not just for ourselves, but also for our children in our lives, right? How can we help them understand their feelings and give them the tools to handle similar situations, all while maintaining their sense of safety and trust in themselves? So this is the idea of exploring that delicate balance between managing our own triggering emotions and teaching children to navigate their own. So the idea came forward. It's just sharing a story, and it comes a few months ago. I found myself in a conversation that left me feeling a bit off. And this is coming from a woman. I had asked for their opinion on something small, but the response caught me off guard. Instead of answering directly, they asked if they could get what they could get in return. At first, I thought they were joking, but the conversation escalated into them asking for something I wasn't comfortable giving, photos no less. When I said no, they responded with sarcasm, implying that my refusal was based on fear. I took a deep breath and felt a familiar tightening in my chest and the emotions rising. In the past, I might have reflected defensively or tried to justify my feelings, but this time I paused. I realized that it wasn't about the surface level conversation anymore. I was feeling pressured, triggered, in something deeper, something about boundaries and discomfort of someone crossing the line. Instead of engaging in their sarcastic game, I reframed the situation. I imagined how I would want someone to speak to a child in a similar situation years from now. I gently stood firm on my ground, and while it didn't resolve the situation perfectly, it helped me stay connected to my sense of self. In the end, it wasn't about winning in the conversation, but about how I handled the emotions that arose from it. And so the next part is, after that experience, I realized how important it was to model those moments for younger ones in my life. Children are already beginning to encounter their own version of pressure, whether it's from friends at school or social situations. I wanted to open up about the conversation, about what it means to feel uncomfortable and how to handle it. So instead of giving direct lessons, I shared my own experience in a way that was relatable. Something like, the other day I felt pressured by someone to do something I didn't feel right about. My first thought was just to go along with it so they wouldn't be upset, but I decided to handle it differently. I said no, and I stood up for myself. Have you ever felt like that when someone wanted you to do something that you didn't feel was right? From there, the conversation can open up naturally, and it's this idea that it's important that not to push for specific answers, to stay curious, allowing the child to reflect on their own experiences, and allowing them to share, what happened. In the development of the story, it says that they shared a story from school where a friend asked them to keep secret, that they weren't keep a secret they weren't comfortable with, and then together they explored how they felt in the moment and what they could do next time they felt the same discomfort. So the key isn't about in solving the problem; it's about helping develop trust in themselves. So there's more to the story, but it's this idea that I think sometimes we can use these triggering responses, but move it into an idea that the child, no matter their age, it's teaching them to trust themselves and to be open about that they have the ability and the solution within them. So it's very
I like
hard for the
that.
mom or the coach because it's like you don't want to be triggered, right? Go ahead, Michelle.
So what the whole time you're reading, like what is so resonating with me. So one thing that I do with Angelina, and I have always basically ever since learning emotional regulation for myself, what I do with her is that it's the reality that like she's the teacher. I'm the student learning lessons. Like she's
Mhm.
the one that's growing and evolving and everything is brand new and she is setting her own precedents and making her own way. And I literally have had to take like that back seat and be the person that is the student learning from her. But one thing that's really important, and I try to tell other parents when they're asking like why my daughter and I have such the amazing relationship we have, and how do I get that conversation with her to get her to be so vulnerable with me and all of that. And it's the reality that my daughter, I just validate her. Whatever she says, whatever she's doing, how she's feeling, like, who am I to look at her and say, oh my God, no, you're wrong? Or why are you feeling that way? That's not my place because how, if you think about it in retrospect, if you were sitting there telling somebody how you felt about something and then they turn around and go, oh my God, no, you're wrong. That's not how it is. How, like, you feel bad. So for me, it's a reminder like that my child, like she is 100% valid what she's feeling. I don't have to agree with it. I don't have to be okay with it. I don't have to understand it. But what is important, even if I know what she's talking about, she's going to fail. I can be like, nope, you're going to take these steps. XYZ is going to happen and that is going to be painful. That's going to hurt. I don't tell it, like, go make your mistakes. My role as your mother is to understand how you feel, to talk you through it. And if you do fail, when you fail, if it happens, I'm there to pick you up. And I'm there to show you that you get up and do it again. Let's try another avenue. How can we go about it in a different manner? But like, it's very important to remember, like, I was raised in you don't cry over spilt milk. It don't get
Mhm.
discussed outside of these walls. That's not how it is. That yes, you talk about it. Yes, you be honest and authentic about it. And the right ones are gonna love you. And if they don't, man, kick them to the side because your feelings matter. My feelings matter. Your feelings matter. We don't have to agree. And that's okay.
You know what I think is really important too? I've always taught myself, or I've tried to always teach my son to never apologize for his feelings. He can apologize for how his actions in
Yes.
response to his feelings might have made somebody feel, but he's never to apologize for his
Mhm.
feelings. And I've also made him responsible for his own choices. I am there to help pick him up. I'm there to put a band aid on his skinned knee. I'm there to make sure that he doesn't smash his head open on a concrete floor or concrete. I will break his fall, but I will not stop him from falling
Right.
because
Exactly.
that's how he is going to gain a strong foundation of self and a strong, healthy mental well-being, because the world's not perfect. So he's going to have to figure out, and I tell my clients, parents that I'm working with all the time, you can assist and you can help, but you cannot rescue.
Let them make mistakes.
You cannot rescue, because that's how we learn. And you can mitigate some of it, like I said, by not letting them break their face on concrete,
I
but
tell Angelina, I don't want to hear I'm sorry. I want to see change behavior. I'm sorry's mean nothing.
Yeah. And it's not bad. Like, it's not bad to say, it's not bad to make mistakes. It's not bad to, but I know that my son, in my own, we had family that would tell him, no, you're wrong for feeling, like you were saying, Michelle, you're wrong for feeling how you feel, and this and that. And look, I was told that growing up, you're wrong for feeling how you feel. And I always made myself a promise that I would do there were things my parents did that I wanted to emulate and do the exact same way, but there were other things that I wanted to do differently. And I've worked really hard to pay attention and be intentional to do those things differently. And I have also owned up to my clients, owned up to my son, owned up to family members. If I did not handle something in the most effective way, because I'm human, then I own up to that. And it's important that we model this kind of response, because that's how people learn to be confident adults. When you don't feel like you have to be perfect in order to get somebody's love, attention, and respect and appreciation.
But
And
how can you
all of this
ask somebody
goes,
to do something you won't do yourself?
yeah,
Like, how do you do that?
but all of this goes into making the foundation of a healthy, mental well-being and a healthy physical well-being, because the two are linked. Our bodies and our minds are linked.
They think that when they hear healthy, it doesn't include negative or bad or failure, but healthy is all of it encapsulated into one. It's having that failure and learning that lesson and picking it up and then becoming successful. It's literally a full cycle. And then, like, people just hear healthy or happy, and it's immediately gone into the status quo of what that societal viewpoint is, that without, you don't get happiness without sadness. You don't get victory without the anger part. There's always a flip side to a coin. And that healthy part is when, great, everybody knows what to do when they're ecstatic and they're in euphoria and everything's amazing. But that resilience comes when your world is crumbling and you're crawling down that path and you want to give up because you just don't know nothing but that failure. That's the resilience. That is the lighting that path and showing others that it can be dark, but I'm gonna make it dim. Even if it's just a little beacon, a sliver of light. That's where the resilience comes in. Every flip side has that flip, good with bad, evil versus good. Like, it's always gonna be there. Is what you do with the negative that makes it amazing.
Well, thank you so much, Michelle, Sharon, and Stephen, for sharing. We have still 20 minutes or so, and of course, I can talk for hours and hours with you all at the same time. Everyone is welcome on stage. And I was thinking to make another small break to sing another song, but this time in English, because I was resonating with what you said. And I'm going to sing, and feel free to sing with me, because I don't know how to sing the rest, but I know the first part, like, I'm only human after all. I am only human after all. Don't put the blame on me. Don't put the blame on me. So, up to you now.
I don't know the song, but
I don't know the words.
we can keep on going. But we're only human after all. Don't put the blame on me. Let's set clear and communicate clear boundaries, right?
Yep.
Let's create
after all.
sane boundaries. Let's create sane boundaries.
but they're important. I think my takeaway from today, and I'm going to jump off in a little bit here, is this idea of, if we're looking for better communication with one another, we have to start with ourselves, right? As we go through this transformation and transition in the world, we'll go through an evolution of self. And part of that is like the baby steps that we take as a child. We learn, and we're imperfect in our first steps, and we get better with practice. And I always like the idea from Ken Caputo, and this idea is that think of other people not as good or bad, but think of them as unskilled, right? It's like, because someone that
I
is,
love that.
even a narcissist, is unskilled in the way that they communicate, and it's not a judgment of them. It's realizing that when you're dealing with somebody that's less skilled or unskilled, you can cut them a little bit of grace, and it doesn't have that internal trigger of biases, things like that. So, my takeaways are, let's practice emotional regulation. Let's, if we're triggered, look at it as an opportunity for growing in self-awareness. Encourage empathy and active listening. It's this idea that if you're a sensitive soul, don't try to become less sensitive. Embrace that sensitive nature, because that's actually the beautiful part of yourself that makes life amazing. But if we need to pull it out of the dark and bring it more into the light, so we feel better about ourselves, that we have a more positive life experience. And with that, I think we can use empathy and active listening to really understand other people, and that will promote that healthy communication. And with all of this, I think it comes down to modeling resilience. And this is the last thing Michelle said, is that resilience is key in self-care. And what that says is not that we're going to not have the downs in life, but that we have the tools and the skills, right? We become more skilled in bouncing back after something negative happens. And I think reframing, there's so many tools that you can use, mindfulness, reframing. There's so many ways that we can become more resilient. But again, it's realizing it's a skill, and we get better with practice. So every time we're triggered, I actually had a situation where someone triggered me, and it was a person that was kind of on the toxic nature. They may have been a covert narcissist. They'd always bring up drama. And I was on this self-awareness journey, and I thought that I had reached guru status a little bit. And it's because I was always chill and everything was good, but they really, really triggered me. And I was so excited that they triggered me, because I thought, oh, good, I found another trigger in myself.
Woo! I love this. I
love
love
that.
this. I
Yeah.
love
love
that. So
And some
just to
people that use
say,
that word trigger, I like the word activate. Like they
activation.
activate something internally.
Yeah, another thing to work on me. So that's an amazing, clever thing.
I
But
have
first, thank you,
Yes.
Matthew. Thanks. You can try to join the stage if you want. And thank you, Karen. Amazing, Karen, to see you.
Karen's
I love you,
beautiful.
by the way. And
Yes.
also, I was thinking also, it's the you see that they are unskilled, but at the same time, the real question: are they willing to skill
Yes.
themselves? Because most of the time, oh no, they're
I
they are
think
passive aggressive, and they are saying, but
I
it's
think that
yeah.
even when somebody is unskilled, even if they're not willing to skill themselves, as you say, I think that Stephen brings up a good point. It's not about whether they're willing to have themselves reskilled or learn. It's about, if I was under, I mean, I believe this, and I think this is what Stephen was saying. If I heard you wrong, let me know, please. But it's about us being able to say, they're not as skilled as me, or they're not as skilled as they could be. So it's not about whether they will let themselves become skilled. It's about you being able to give them grace, and you being able to walk away as unscathed as you possibly can, because you're not allowing their inability to communicate more effectively or to see things from another perspective, leave an indelible mark on your heart and your internal self. And I think that's what it's about, because we can't control whether somebody else is going to want to be more skilled or not. It would be such a great world if we could, but the odds of that happening are not.
Yeah, you
That's
captured
what.
that perfectly, Sharon. But there's one little caveat that I would add to that. And there's some things that will create the activation, as Michelle says, or that trigger on a physical level. And that's things like rejection, right? You could be rejected by somebody that you don't like, that the person's doing you a favor, and it will still hurt, right? So it's this
Yeah.
idea of rejection or criticism or judgment. All of these things will create a physical response, and we can get better at managing that. But it's okay. It's allowing that experience to happen and realize that there's nothing wrong with you if you have that response, right? It's growing in that awareness, and then becoming more intentional with the way that you respond to that. So perfect summation, Sharon. Thank you for that.
Thank
I
you.
say
Also,
redirection or rejection is redirection.
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
I also just want to add something to what you said, Steve, just now. One of the things that we're taught in our society is that if we have negative, I mean, I know I was taught this growing up. If you have negative emotions, that's like a bad thing. Like you're not supposed to have negative emotions. But here's what it took me years and decades to learn, and I'm on a mission to let people learn this much earlier in their life than I did because it's so freeing. But it's okay to have negative emotions. It really is. The more energy you spend trying to push the negative emotions down or the negative emotions away, that takes a lot more energy than letting yourself have the emotion and feel the emotion and work through it. That takes energy, but it doesn't take as much energy as trying to pretend the emotion is not there. And trust me when I tell you, because I'm speaking from experience, if you spend your time pushing those emotions down or away, they will find you. It
Yeah.
will be like a volcano or a pressure cooker. Eventually, those emotions are going to erupt. And I'm telling you, they're going to erupt over something so minuscule. They're going to erupt because somebody left a sock on the floor. And it's not going to be about the damn sock, people. It's going to be about everything that you were holding in or down. You're not doing yourself a service. So to think that you're not able to have a negative emotion, that is so erroneous because that's part of the human experience. So it's allowing yourself to feel what you feel and then learning how to regulate and to deal with it in a more effective way. But not dealing with it is not going to be productive for you or anybody around you. So please, let yourself cry, let yourself scream, let yourself punch a pillow. It's not about the emotion that you have, it's more about how you deal with that emotion. Obviously, if you're angry, you're not going to get away with going to punch somebody in the face. I mean, come on, that's like assault. But if you want to punch a pillow till the stuffing falls out. I don't really, but don't say to yourself you're not allowed to have that emotion because that's just adding more intensity to that emotion and
You just
more.
had an important part though. It's finding that healthy outlet when
Mm-hmm,
there's the negative. For me, do you know how long it took me to learn that that was okay screaming into the pillow? That was okay going in the shower and
mm-hmm,
crying. That was okay writing down all that anger that was consuming my thoughts.
mm-hmm.
But in that childhood, it's what are you doing that for? What is the problem? What is wrong?
Yep.
Like it was never validated as being healthy
I
outlets.
used to get in
And now
trouble.
in retrospect, right. And now I'm telling my daughter, go write it out. If you can't talk to me about it, go write it. If or who can we call that you can talk to? Like, yeah,
Yep.
but for me, everything that I now see is a healthy outlet, was acceptable, was never validated for me. These are all the things that I just constantly am validating with my daughter as being okay and being
Yep.
healthy and
The
acceptable.
the other thing that's healthy and acceptable is you can have more than one emotion at the same time. I can be happy about certain aspects of my life. I can be joyful and have gratitude for certain aspects of my life and certain experiences, and still be unhappy about others. There's no law saying we can only be one thing at one time. It's
And
it's
there's a
It's
development curve that
quantum.
also goes
It's
through that.
quantum reaction.
Yeah.
Quantum reaction.
Tying into the field. One of the things that can come in is, if you're in a depressed state, or if you're having a bad experience in life, sometimes it's hard to connect to the positive experiences. And what I found is highly empathic people sometimes those emotions aren't even their own. There's like a cloud moving through, and they're getting caught up in this. I call it the ocean of emotion. It's sometimes there can be big emotions that sweep through that are not even defined. They don't have to have a reason. They don't need to be fixed. And they will pass over time, but you can't resist it because it's that big wave of emotion. And part of that again is that as you become intentional with your thoughts, then you can start slowly over time choosing a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better. And it's this idea that when with our emotions, we push this boulder up the hill, right? And then we get it to the top, and then it'll start rolling down the hill. And you cannot stop it once that boulder starts rolling down the hill.
Exactly.
But what you find with self-awareness is that there's little triggers. There's the red flags, or the yellow flags, and the things that you'll notice, the orange flags that say, hey, I'm starting to feel this way. So there's a self-awareness technique that I like to teach, and it's about awareness, which is, when you're in the midst of the emotion, rather than thinking about why it happened or coming up with a logical solution that gives meaning to this experience, just turn inward and ask yourself, what am I experiencing? Right? What am I actually feeling in this moment? And there's a little subtlety that happens there, because as you try to grasp onto the true experience of what you are feeling, right? Whether it be anger or sadness, joy, or any feeling, because you're not linking to the thought that actually triggered the chemistry that created that, it will slowly start dissipating. And so as you're trying to experience it, it'll start fading on you. And the more that you try to experience it, the more focused you'll become, and the quicker it will actually fade. And so if you can move into that level of self-awareness where you'll start to just notice that feeling, then you can actually figure out what was the belief that was linked to that created this response. And once
I
you
love that.
understand what that belief is, what's amazing is you can actually ask yourself the question, is this my belief? Is this true for me? So often with the people that I work with, these beliefs, these structures will be passed on by a parent to a very young child, and we will carry this forward, and it won't even be ours. So we will get upset. We'll have this turmoil in life over something that is not even ours. And it's like, if we can shed that instantly, we're healed from any response to that in the future. So that's a wonderful
I
place.
just got chills.
It's
Just
the
saying that.
that is the true meaning of like breaking the generational, curses and the generational patterns.
Yes. Yes. And if it is something that's yours, right, and it's valid, right? I know I'm going to get upset when I experience this. That's where we start setting boundaries, because your mental wellness, your mental health is more important than the other person's right to violate your boundaries. And
Absolutely.
also, as we develop those boundaries, we're like unskilled little children setting boundaries. Like the first thing, if you do this, I'm never going to talk to you again. And that's part of the healing. But afterwards, you'll actually realize that we don't have to set as strict boundaries, because when you're not as wounded, you can be a little bit more tolerant of people trampling your emotional space, because it doesn't mean as much, right? You're not as raw to that situation. And if that happens, then you'll just decide, okay, is this healthy for me? Is this something that I want in my life? And you'll make a decision from there, but it won't be from that triggered space.
I love what you said though about, I love everything you've said today actually, but I love what you said just now about like I don't know if I'm going to quote you right, but I love what you said about um you know disengaging from the logical part of our of trying to figure out why we're feeling a certain way, and just allowing ourselves to ask the question of what am I really feeling, and just getting at it from a feeling place as opposed to because part of human nature is, I was just having this conversation with somebody yesterday, part of human nature is we always look for the why, even if we're not aware that we're looking for the why. We're always looking for the why because we feel like if we have the why, we're going to be able to fix it. But the truth is, if we ask ourselves the question that you were just saying is, what am I feeling? What am I feeling? And not get into the why did this happen and what can I do about it? Just what am I feeling? We actually are in a better place to do something about what we're feeling because we're just dealing with the feeling. So I love the, getting away from the logical and bringing it right to the emotional. Love that.
Yeah.
I was
Um,
Go ahead, Ollie.
But first, thank you, Leslie Flowers, and thank you everyone in the audience. We are on the almost the end of the session, but it's always glad to add 20 more minutes or more. I was thinking also, you said words, Sharon, that was make me realize: is it true that we have to fix it? I truly believe that we are the light, and in the room we have shadows and dark parts, and these are not there to be fixed or placed under the carpet or whatever. These are there as in the cockpit, red signals, or
Mhm.
see me, love me, acknowledge me, in order to be dissolved with love. Because if we go
Mhm.
with the mindset, oh, I have this, I need to fix that, it will appear again and again because it probably doesn't want to be fixed. So it's really to acknowledge that and to give love,
Mhm.
and to, okay, thank you so much for your message, and to address what the yeah. So up to you now, Michelle.
I love what like all three of you are saying, and like Ollie, you're really right when you're saying to give the love. But one thing that I want to say, and where the importance truly lies, is the self love. You have to give yourself love. And for myself, again, so anybody wants to get in my DMs later, this is my own perceptions, these are my own experiences. My pivotal point in changing and achieving things and actually being truly resilient, it wasn't until I truly started identifying with my self-worth. And there's even
Mhm.
moments now that there's things that I still struggle with my self-worth and feeling worthy of. But that's that breaking point. Like if you don't have self-love and you can't know what your worth is, everything we've discussed today is irrelevant, because you
Mhm.
have to be able to look in that mirror and look at yourself and know that you're the only one that's going to truly be able to save you. Doesn't matter what village you surround yourself with, that you have to consciously wake up and do that. And I have had to remove myself from tables that I will refuse to break bread with people because my self-worth. I know what I am deserving of. I know what I offer. I know what I bring to the table. And not everybody is privy to it. I'm sorry.
I love that, Michelle. And one of the things that I think is interesting in our human experience, we've got two perspectives, right? We have the human experience perspective, which is that egoic perspective of our whole collection of who we are, and part of that egoic experience is being afraid of death, being afraid of being insignificant, being afraid of being sick. There's judgment and comparison and all of these things trying to be something special. But also within ourselves, we have another perspective from which we can view life and which we can see things, and I call that the spiritual perspective. Some people call it the soul or the light, whatever you want to call it. But from that place, it's the ultimate form of leadership. It's such a powerful energy. There is no fear of there's no fear of being significant, because every life is just absolutely significant. There's no isolation and aloneness because we're all connected. There's no judgment. There's no need for anything. There's just a sense of acceptance and learning and knowing, but mostly celebration in this experience of life, and realizing that we came here to forget. We came here to experience this because we wanted to come away with an answer. So if you're ever in that place of feeling judged or feeling disconnected, maybe just quiet yourself a little bit, right? And embrace that inner child, because it's the inner child, that the part of us that's afraid, that needs that nurturing. And we also have within us that part of us that that is so accepting, right? So non-judgmental. It's, to me, that part is so non-judgmental, non requiring of us, that it won't even show up if we're going through difficulty. But we can ask that to be the center stage. We can ask that to be the core energy that's within us. And if we do that, then we'll be at peace. We'll be in a place of absolute significance. We don't need to do anything or be anything. We can just discover our path as we go along, and we can find that significance in others. So, you know, to me, that's the ultimate space of being, because both are valid and there's nothing wrong with being in either perspective. But the thing
Nope.
that's beautiful is when you're feeling low, when you're feeling disconnected, when you're feeling judged, we can instantly go to this other perspective where we have everything that we're seeking.
Yes,
Yep.
I love it. It's so true.
Yep.
You're muted, Ollie.
Mic drop moment.
I
Sorry.
know, right?
Yeah. I would like to share vulnerable things because when it comes to self-love, it's not a checkbox, and I still have to make it. I'm not a green hand, but at the same time, I truly believe that there is a quote: "If you want to know how someone is giving self-love, look at their plants." And look at that. This is my plants, and right now it's really looking really bad, you know. So this is my plant right now. Actually, it was really beautiful probably 1 or 2 years ago, and right now it's like that. So that's for me a sign that I need to place more self-love, because if I'm not able to care about plants, then probably I'm not able to care about myself. So I would like to give some vulnerability out there, because I'm not done about self-love. So that's my share.
Listen, I was not always a good person of growing plants myself, although there's some wildflowers I planted growing out front, and I'm beyond amazed at how amazing they're growing. But I do like they say like you talk to plants and they grow, and that the more positivity you surround plants with, the more, better they grow. Maybe like you can use that, Ollie, to like bring that plant back and just start pouring the love into the plant that you're pouring into yourself as well.
Thank you.
Ali, can I just, Steve, I know you said that you may have to go in a minute. And I just wanted to say that I really appreciate your shares today and in other audio rooms that we've been in. I did send you a connection request, but it still says pending from like a long time ago. So I can't send you a
Steven is
message.
like me. You have to tell him it's in there because it's a folder that you scroll
Yeah,
and
but
you
I
gotta
haven't
tell
seen.
him to find
That's
it.
why I'm taking advantage of it now. Sorry,
Yeah.
people in the audience, because I
Well
haven't
done.
seen him to be able to tell him. So anyway, I just wanted
All
to
right,
tell you
this is
that.
a skill sharing moment. How do I find it?
uh, wow.
Go into your network, and it should say invitations or something like, right, guys? Am I correct?
I see all 900, and well, okay, it says, it says see all 907.
So
Does
if
that mean
you
I've got
just
do I have
go to the
907
search bar.
invitations?
Yes, that's why I don't
Oh
scroll in there.
wow.
If you just go to the search bar and you type in Sharon and you go to her profile, it'll
Yeah,
say accept, and then you don't
yeah,
gotta scroll through the folder.
yeah. That's true.
That's it.
Just go to the
Yeah.
search
Just
bar and
go to
type in
her
my name.
profile. Yep, just go to her profile and you can hit accept from there. And because I
So
can't scroll
anybody
in that folder.
so anybody that's watching, yes, DM me, or let's do it. Jump in one of my events and tell me.
Yeah, because
Yeah, you gotta.
seriously, the thing is, I can't. They can't DM you if they're because
Yeah, you don't get a message if you're not connected, Steven. So if they're
Exactly.
yeah.
not connected with you, they can't message you. That's why you gotta get
That's
on
why I
and
had to
tell
jump in
him.
and
Well,
do it.
I apologize to all 907 of you that have messaged me that I just found. Sorry.
Mwah.
Thank you
For me, it's plants.
that's
For you,
funny.
it's connections, Stephen.
Well, I just wanted to tell you because I've been so I've been like whenever I've
She's
heard been
patiently
in
waiting.
you things you say have resonated with me since the moment I met you in the first audio room we were in together. I don't even know how long ago that was. And I haven't been able to get in touch with you because I haven't been able to send you messages. And then in the last
No.
3 days, I've seen you like 3 times. And I'm like, as soon as I can
And
say
it's
something in English, I'm going to. So,
I love that. And as Ali would know, I go on my walkabouts. I'll take a 2 month, digital media hiatus, and go off and discover my reason for why, because I did that like a few months ago. I just kind of stepped away from the digital world. It was summertime. I was enjoying the nature a little bit, but I had this underlying question: why do I do what I do? Because I'm involved in a lot of events. I do a lot of things. I've got a tribe of people, but I do things for free, and it's like I came back and I said, why do I do what I do? And then my answer was, well, because I like it.
Yes.
That's a valid
Yes.
response,
The
brother. That's a
realest
valid response.
reason. Yes.
and I
The
just want to say
realest.
too, that is a really good way to stay in your mental wellness is to revisit your why every once in a while. I said this earlier today. It might have even been on this stage. It might have been on the one I was in earlier this morning. But it's very easy to get lost in your connections and get lost in supporting other people. And that's not a bad thing to support others. But you have to give yourself time to be reconnected with your why and to let yourself evolve and to figure out, is this still working for me? So I commend you for taking those hiatuses. I do.
And there's one other thing, we myself, I get a positive, endorphin spike from connection, from from learning from other people. But what I've done is I've taken that, and with the power of AI, we can actually, you know, let's not let any conversation go to waste. Let's figure out a way to utilize what we are talking about, what we're doing, so that every moment is leveraged, and that we can maybe extract something, a deeper meaning. So one of the ideas is, I do a lot of conversations with different people, but the conversations tend to be so meaningful that let's use that meaning and that understanding and share that with others, right? And that's where that little message came from earlier. Someone was asking for kind of validation of an experience they had, and it turned into a really valuable piece of work on how do we reflect this stuff back to children, because you don't want to weigh them down with something burdensome. You don't want to protect them from something that doesn't exist yet, because you're putting this undue pressure on them. But we can use it in a positive way if we teach them about, trust your gut, right? Trust your ability to solve things, simple things like that.
Yes, so true.
Also, with children, when they're asking questions, we have to be mindful to put things in a way that's age appropriate and follow their cue for how deep we go, because they will give you cues. So when they've had enough, let it be enough until they open the door for that conversation again, or until you have an experience that makes you have to open that conversation door again. Because we don't want to overwhelm. We do want to teach and we do want to empower, but we don't want to overwhelm, and we don't want to increase fear where fear doesn't have to be, because life for children, especially in today's world, is full of fear and uncertainty and anxiety producing. So we have to do what we can to try and mitigate that for them, or help them mitigate it.
It's
And the
funny. All
flip
my coaching parents, friends, the kids always say, "Okay, mom. Okay, dad. Oh, not another life lesson."
So, and the flip side for me, and like where there's been a lot of battle with my daughter's father's family, is that they feel that I overshare with her. And what I think that a lot of parents don't do is that they don't give credit for how intelligent their children are. Sometimes withholding certain information where you think maybe they're just not ready or at the age is actually damaging, because you're not giving them that exposure to being able for them to understand and process things like in the reality of what it is. Like the example for us is my daughter's dad he was arrested. He's in jail, and he's a drug addict and he has mental health issues. And his family hates how honest I am with her about it. But the reason I'm so honest with her about it is because she needs to understand your dad loves you. He's sick. He is dealing with something right now, that it prevents him from being the dad that you deserve and that you need. And they hate that I talk to her about it. And I obviously do it at an age appropriate manner. But if it was up to them, there would never be a discussion about his drug addiction and his mental health and him being in jail. It would be, oh, he's away at work.
What they want to do, tell you about she's on vacation.
Right, exactly. But for my child, that is more damaging. And lying to her and not being honest with her makes her shut down, and then she just isn't going to communicate with you.
Right.
Yeah, and sorry, I totally agree, because I want to add it's about perception, and I say that because I was living that, because my mom had epilepsy crisis, but I was not aware about that, so I kept out with, there is a dispute or something like that. So what is not told is led to interpretation from the child.
Yes.
So we have to say to ourselves, I don't want anyone to assume something that is not right. So that's it. Up to you now, Stephen.
Yeah. So, it's an interesting thing because, like with some families, they're more concerned about their own image than they are concerned about really what's going on. But also that it's a complexity because, a child has the need for security, the need for attachment, and it's difficult. So, what comes up for me, and I was not the conscious parent. I made so many mistakes in parenting my daughter. She's quite successful in the business world, but despite of how I parented her, right? I was more of the restriction, more of the, don't go on Facebook because, these aren't your real friends, that type of thing, and even though her mom was saying, oh, you need to have all of these friends. Well, the 4,000 friends that she had when she started her cleaning business were what escalated her into, the top level cleaner, right? So she got the award for being the top cleaner in the area, which generated business, and it created a wonderful opportunity for her to develop her business, everything else. So when I'm coming back to this idea about, the keys and knowing what to share for kids, it's we can't overprotect them, right? Because when they're little, and there's all these ideas about the brain development. A child's brain doesn't develop. There's a couple key milestones, but there's like a key change around the 7-8 year old time frame, and then there's another change when they're in their teens, and then by the time they're 24, they've got full development of their prefrontal cortex. So there's some things that they just won't understand, right? And if we can embrace that, and I think the biggest thing that we can do for a child is to be secure in ourselves. If we can create that energy, because this is something that I'm learning. I do hypnotherapy, and I think that one of the keys that a hypnotherapist does is creates that energy or that environment, that space where someone can be free to be themselves, to release from emotion or release from thoughts and go down this mental imagined journey. But the key is that I am creating that space of acceptance, that space of non-judgment, that space where they can be who they are in a secure and safe space. So if we can do that with our children, I think that that's something that resonates with them. I think that when we're okay, when we are, strong, secure, at peace, then we can actually trigger that within them. This is something I noticed when someone is in a state of fear. We have fight, flight, response. Not everybody is a fighter, right? So when there's aggression that comes up, the person may be in the same fear response, and my response is more freeze, right? I will withdraw. So what's interesting is two people can be in the same energy where one is aggressive, the other one's withdrawing. It looks like there's a conflict there, but actually they're both in that same. They're sharing that fear response, right? That it's the same energy. So my thought is if one person can self-regulate and can move into this space of peace and calm, acceptance, the other person will actually join them. That's a beautiful space to be. And with our kids, I think we can do that too.
Absolutely.
I
No, that's
absolutely.
beautiful. Yes.
You're 100% right, because I know that when I'm working with clients and I say that my son's a good example, and what I learned from being my son's parent is a great example, and I don't mind sharing because I know it will help. My son, you know, was very hyperactive when he was younger because of his ADHD. He's calmed down a lot as he's gotten older, but he's also has anxiety, and that so when he would get anxious, my anxiety would ramp up, or if I got anxious about something, his anxiety would ramp up, and then we would just be feeding off each other's anxiety. So I would say to myself, self, one of you has to remain calm. And so being the one that was better at emotional regulation and being the adult, I would remove myself from the situation and tell him I'll be right back, or let's breathe, and we would do the breathing exercise together, and then he would join me in that calm. So what you're saying is so true. And the other thing I wanted to add to what Michelle said is this: when we're not honest with our kids, they know. So how can we teach them, be honest with me, talk to me about anything? Look, I'm not saying talk to kids about adult issues. I'm not
Right.
saying use them as your therapist or use them as a friend or a confidant, but I am saying talk to them on their level, because, like, to use your daughter as an example, your daughter knows her father's not around. So telling your daughter that he's on vacation, she's only going to think that vacation is more important than her. But if you tell her he's sick and dealing with things and made some choices that weren't the greatest, and so now he's trying to fix it, that does a lot more for her in teaching her lessons, and also does a lot more for her self-esteem, because she's not going to internalize that her dad is thinking other
It's not
things that
daddy doesn't want me.
right are more important.
Yes.
So
You know,
there's a fine line in all of this, and you're gonna make people we're gonna make mistakes. And if you're not a parent, you're gonna make a mistake with your niece or nephew or even with a friend. It's not about being afraid to make an error in judgment. It's about being willing to own when you figure out that it wasn't the best choice. Own that and then have a conversation around that, because you can't walk around on eggshells. Oh, am I going to say the right thing? Am I going to ruin this person for life? It doesn't work like that. If somebody once said this to me, and I'm going to share this with you, if your intention with your child or with anybody else that you have a relationship with, if your intention is good, that and coming from the right place, then you cannot screw a person up with your actions for life. You have to be willing to own your imperfections, because we're all perfectly imperfect.
And it's to reduce the response between when you are making mistake and when you realize that you are making mistake, because for some people they don't realize it upfront, they realize it days or weeks or months after. So go ahead, Stephen.
Oh, I love this conversation, and one of the ideas that came up when you were speaking, Michelle, is one of the best lessons in life that we can teach a child is consequences for decision. There's consequences to behaviors, right? So it
Yes.
doesn't mean that it's right or wrong, but he made a decision. There was an outcome that he had to deal with the consequences, and that the consequences of that were being in jail, and he probably wouldn't have paid the price if he could think back and learn those consequences, right? But for the kid, it's like he's dealing with the consequence of his actions. That's something that they can understand, and I really appreciate everything that everyone has shared here today. It's this idea that um, we can't. One of the things that you shared, Sharon, was this idea about intention, but we can't communicate intention to anybody else. So someone can be hurt, even though our intentions are good.
Correct.
Um, you know, there's that delicate balance there. But what we can do is, if we seek clear understanding, um, if we just open ourselves up to not being perfect, of just
Yeah.
being the best that we can be, I think that we can kind of muddle through this life, and we'll find understanding with the people that have understanding with us, and we'll actually find offense with the people that choose offense. For my
Right.
people pleasing friends out there, I always say, because I'm a recovering people pleaser, and I realize that I would not only not make them happy, I wouldn't be happy in the end myself. I'd be miserable. And so what I learned is there are some people in the world that find offense to what you do. And
Mm.
when I tell my people pleasing clients that, so don't say I'm sorry anymore, because if they're seeking to be offended, you just gave them what they wanted, right? So in effect, you don't say it out loud, but under your breath, or think, you're welcome, because you just gave them everything. And by them being offended with you, you've taken everybody, all the other people pleasers, off the hook. So
Yep.
it's this idea of just be you, right? Just be you, and let other people be them.
I love that. And I just want to say, it's not about other people knowing your intention, because I know you can't communicate intention to other people. It's about you being able to forgive yourself by knowing your intention. When like, if my intention wasn't to hurt this person, and you can apologize for your actions having hurt them, but you don't have to be, as a people pleaser or a formed people pleaser, or recovering people pleaser. I know that I was very hard on myself when I knew that my intentions weren't to hurt somebody, but I hurt them. So I had to know that my intentions weren't to do what happened. So it's about self. When I'm talking about being aware of your intentions, it's you knowing that you can't damage someone forever if you're coming from a good place, and it allows you to do self forgiveness, which is the hardest forgiveness to do a lot of times. But honestly, forgiveness most of the time isn't about forgiving for the other person. It's forgiving, you forgive yourself and other people for yourself so that you can move on. So
It,
that's where I was going
I
with
just
that.
wanted to mention one thing, and it's this idea that we don't challenge that critical voice loop that we have within our heads, right? We have a self-critical thought pattern that most people have, but you can turn that off in an instant because we are in control of our thoughts. And this is one of the reasons that I actually went into the practice of hypnotherapy and learning about it and how to help others realize that our beliefs dictate the quality of our life. It's because we have complete domain over the direction and where we place our intention, where we place our focus. And the best thing that we can do is to realize that we have that power. And slowly over time, we will understand how we can exercise that. But most people don't recognize that you can turn off that negative thought loop. You can turn it off like that. And once you experience it, once you realize that you can do it, it'll change your life, right? And it's so much more peaceful. It's a better way to live. So with all of these things, I love that. The biggest thing that I found is reframing. If I found that if something happens that is emotionally triggering or which in the past would have put me in this self loop of oh shit, I shouldn't have done that. I'm bad. I'm a failure. Whatever. If we reframe it, it can be a learning lesson. It can be a thing that we can actually cut ourselves a little bit of slack, a little bit of grace. And one of the phrases that we use a lot in one of the classes, I attend a class with Rob McNeely. He's a MD, and he's a psychotherapist, and he also studied with Milton Erickson, who was the guy that brought hypnotherapy into modern day psychoanalysis and all that. It's never too late to have a happy childhood, because we can reframe our entire experience. And a tool that we do with that is you can go back to that memory. And if there's a moment of lacking, if there's something that happened that's traumatic, as an adult self, give whatever was missing, right? If it's love, give love. If it's a hug, give a hug. If it's understanding, whatever is needed by that little child, just imagine yourself giving that to your inner child. And that could actually heal something that may have been a lifelong trauma.
Yes.
Another,
Reparenting your inner child is probably one of the more difficult parenting tasks than being a parent to a real life little.
I couldn't agree
Yeah.
with you more. And I also wanted to say one of my favorite strategies and techniques to use with my clients and even in my own life is just that, Steve. It's reframing. Reframing. It's once you learn it, it takes practice, but once you can do it effectively, it truly is life changing, because it's not about stopping the negative thoughts that come into our minds, because our minds are constantly having thoughts come in and out all day long. And some of them are going to be, a lot of them are going to be negative and they're just going to come in, but it's about what you do with those thoughts when they come in. And so a lot of them you might just be able to kind of go, oh no, not you, not today, not now, come back to me Friday at 3. But for the ones that we grew up with, or where there were messages that got recorded to, in us, both consciously and unconsciously through our life, reframing is a beautiful tool, because the thought will come in, it may affect you momentarily, but as soon as you can make the reframe, it's amazing what happens. So for anybody that's not really sure if these tools work, all I can do is encourage you to try it and to reach out to anyone that you know, one of us or somebody else in your network who has experience with these things, because we are talking about mental health, and there's a whole gamut of tools out there that will help you stay, healthy, mental wellness. And one tool that will work for you today might not work for you tomorrow, or it might not work for you in the same exact situation that you're experiencing, because it depends on other variables. So, what I tell my clients and what I tell myself is this: you have a tool, like a carpenter has, like somebody has a toolbox, you have a toolbox, and you keep the tools in your toolbox, and you pull the tools out that you think you need for that situation. And if one's not working, then you put it back in the toolbox for another day, and you keep picking the tools until you find the one or the combination of the one that works. You will find some that will not work for you because not every tool is going to work for everybody. So when you find a tool that hasn't worked for you over time, then you move that one from your toolbox and you leave it on the curb for somebody else to pick up and put it in their toolbox. And
Yeah,
that's, you know,
yeah, and what is powerful is that also the power of asking help to people that are in good support about you, because they might have tools that you don't have. But oh, I was never thinking about that. And so it's
mhm.
really about sharing each other's the tools, because if you are thinking that there is no tool in your toolbox that is working, maybe it's because there are other tools out there that you are not aware. Awareness, that's also key when it comes to reframe, to catch our thoughts. Because if someone is telling us crap, oh, you are a crap, you are shit, blah, 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 you are reacting. But you are never or really rarely reacting when you are telling that to yourself. So it's really to be realizing that this awareness. So we are on the last minutes on the session. I still can be there for 5, 10, 15 minutes, but I'm mindful about our time. I would also like, if you have you for me, or you for each of you, any questions to ask ourselves, always feel free.
No, really, I'm getting ready to cook dinner. I just want to say that it's always coming up on the stage and sharing it with you guys is amazing. And it's like, for me, it's knowing that there can be the intellectual, deep conversations. There can be maybe where we disagree or don't align, or maybe you're sharing something new that I never heard. And I love how we just come together and we're open and we're honest about ourselves, because when we're being our authentic selves, that's when, we get to learn the most about each other. And like, I just love that I'm on stage with such amazing souls, and that we all have that same commonality. We all just want to make the world a better place. And I'm just thankful I got to spend my Saturday with you guys.
Oh,
Well,
thank you, Michelle. You are welcome, and it's also a blessing to hear more. I was there listening, having my blank night at 3 to 4 a.m., listening to you and Aaron, his first audio room. And the more I hear your stories, I hear you, the more I love you for who you are really, and that you are alive. You survived. So it's also to say to you, thank you so much for sharing, because we never know until someone is ready to share. And that's why I'm really also happy to share some of my stories in next events or during the book. Like, for 30 years, my friends, I was not sharing the fact that when I was an adolescent, I was ending the life of a canary bird. I put this bird out of the cage, taking with my hands, and quick. And this, I found finally 1 or 2 years ago the space with a dear friend and mentor to be able to share that. But for 30 years, I was never sharing that. So it's really to, when you are in the space that you have the trust also to share, then it's really a blessing. So thank you so much, Michelle, for your presence, and bon appétit.
And
I
my takeaway. Oh, go ahead.
go ahead, Steve.
No, you first.
I was just going to say I echo everything Michelle said. I am always feel blessed to be on stage and share the stage with such a great group of people who we just want to make the world a better place, and we do it by being real and by being vulnerable. And I respect each and every one of you on stage and everybody who's joining us today live and on the replay. I respect each and every one of you. I look forward to doing more of these mental health Saturdays with Michelle and Ollie and Stephen and anybody else who wants to join us, because these are conversations that need to be continued and need to be ongoing if we're really going to make a difference. We can't start the conversation once and then think the job is done, because that's not how it works, because people will go back into the closet or feeling like they have to hide. We have to continue to make it okay to be real and to be so I'm just honored and blessed to be with all of you here today. There's no better way that I would rather spend my Saturday than being around people who just want to make a difference and lift others up. And I appreciate each and every one of you. And I just want to say thanks.
Well, thank you, and lovely being in this space with everyone. It's like there's such wisdom is being shared, and I think that this is, as we connect, as we heal and connect to to the truth of life, we find out that there's a lot of similarities between what we experience, what we share, and that's the joy and the beauty in life. It's finding out what works for us, and I think that was something that you shared, perfectly, Sharon. It's this idea of finding what works for you, but it's always having that that presupposition or that idea that there is a solution, that we can find a better way. So I'm wondering, is this recorded, Ollie? Because there is
Yes.
such wisdom here. Yeah. So let's take this wisdom and extract what we talked about and come up with a way to share some of these insights, because I think that this roundtable discussion is sharing some really valuable tools that we can use to help other people, maybe level up one little bit, right? To not be triggered by somebody, all those good things. So thank you all for what you do.
Yeah,
You'll
I've
find it on
seen.
my YouTube. It'll be on
Yeah,
Facebook. It's on LinkedIn. The
Yeah.
video will be out there on many platforms for replay.
Yeah.
yeah, and I've seen your comments, Steve, so it's about wisdom, because blue, purple, black, these are words that have been taught to us. So it's about wisdom, because there is, and then to realize also, is this something that is useful, that is elevating others, that is joyful? If yes, then good. But if it's a kind of a wisdom that is more putting down, then we have the right to put that away, because it's not serving. So it's about constantly elevating. And truly, if I have something to share on a billboard, is keep shining, work on yourself, and always remember to embark your heart. Don't only focus on your brain, because I truly believe if we are just focusing on our brain, we are missing probably 60 to 80% of the neurons. Of course, these are the main place where the neurons are, but there is also the neurons all around the body. All these kind of things. I go to the supermarket, I type my pin code, and then it's automatic, and it's the body that don't knows that. And as soon as okay, what was my pin code? I'm not sure. So it's really to embark your heart, to embark your body wisdom, because the body knows even before the brain. When you are entering into a room that is like, a huge dispute or whatever, you are sensing the atmosphere, you are sensing the energy, the vibration of the room and the people that are around, even before your brain. So it's really to tap into the heart and to the body. And so thank you so much. It's really, the time that we spend together is not replaceable. And this is the most powerful currency on the world. Time, care, deep love through each other's. And thank you, everyone in the audience, Karen,
Yeah.
CJ,
Thank you,
everyone.
everybody.
Thank you.
And I just
And
wanted to
can
share
I?
one little thing, which, Sharon, I have to thank you so much, because in my inbox of all those messages, there's so many messages about being a 7-figure coach and getting million followers. I tell you what, in about a month's time, I'm going to be the most famous person you ever met.
Awesome. You're welcome. Can I just share one more thing before we go, Ollie? I
Yes,
just
of
want to
course.
encourage. I just want to encourage everybody to keep in touch with yourself, because when you keep in touch with yourself, that's when you can really keep in touch with the rest of the world and shine.
I
And
check
it's
in with
not
myself 3 times a day. When I wake up, midday, and in the evening. And then there's times when shit is exploding and I might need that 4th, 5th, or 6th check-in.
just,
But
yep.
yes,
It's all about keeping in touch with yourself. Because if you stay grounded in who you are, everything else, I know this is going to sound like hokey, but it's the truth. Everything else falls into place.
If you see me out of character, just know I didn't check in with myself.
Hmm. And share more your voice. Share more your voice. That's why I'm really blessed that Aaron is doing his first audio room. In 18 months, I was doing probably 250 plus audio rooms in 18 months. And Aaron, it is the first time. So keep
I
shining.
was so
Keep doing
honored.
that. Keep doing that, Aaron.
Aaron
You
has
are
to do more
amazing.
audio rooms. It was awesome.
I was
Yeah.
very honored. That was such a humbling moment. Like first ever, like you're doing an audio for me. What? Like that was very humbling.
And he's first.
Yep.
Well, it was very well deserved as well.
Thank you. Thank
Yes.
You're welcome.
There is so much love out there. So thank you so much, everyone. I'm going to close the room very soon. So your
Well,
last
thank
word,
you,
like,
Holly, for having this space. Before you
Yes,
close the
thank you for
room,
the
I want to
space.
publicly thank you for continually having this space and continually having a space where it's a safe space for us to talk about a very, very important topic and sometimes a very difficult topic, but one that can no longer be avoided and has to be given priority. So thank you, my friend. Love you to pieces.
Yes, thank you.
thank you so much. I'm doing that for each of us, not only me, but also for the audience. So imagine that you can talk to your inner child, no, to your child, like 20, 30 years ago. What would the message will be?
Yes, that's beautiful. It's being able to say all the things we wanted to hear.
Yep.
So this is a question for each of you. If you want to,
Oh, you want us to close with this?
We're closing
yes.
with
Oh,
So
that.
sorry, so
oh,
sorry.
you're closing with this. I'm like,
Oh,
okay, got you. So
Yeah,
I would
woo!
close with
Allie's
30
going deep
years
for the
ago.
close.
I
yeah.
would tell myself that it doesn't matter what others see you as. It matters how you see yourself in the mirror, and that embrace that self-love and your voice. I would have told myself that 30 years ago. Like your feelings matter, you are important, and I would have just probably gave myself a big ass hug.
Hmm. What about you, Stephen?
So for me, it's this idea that you are worthy, you are lovable, you are deserving of kindness, you are deserving of respect and be treating well. So it's this idea that all of these different programs that we have of low self-worth, low confidence, all of these are linked into trying to be something that we're not. And if we can just my message would be who you are today and try to be a little bit better each day, right? So that would be my message.
Love it.
Hmm. What about you, Sharon? And then I will conclude.
So my message to myself would be you are enough just as you are, and use your voice. Do not let yourself be silenced. And if it's okay with you, I just want to add really quick. A friend of mine lost her son in a tragic accident this weekend, and the reason I'm bringing that up is because his quote from his high school yearbook, I don't know if I'm quoting it exactly because I don't have it in front of me, but it goes with this topic. And he wrote something to the effect of be the person that you are, be who you are meant to be, and let the world see that person.
Oh,
And
prayers to your friends.
and that just
Definitely.
and thank you. And that quote just truly resonates with me. I remember being his age then when he wrote it at 17. I remember having the same feelings, but not knowing how to articulate it as beautifully as he did. And he was just a beautiful light. And he,
That's
in his
beautiful.
21 short years of life, he lost his life tragically in a motorcycle accident. But that young man made such an impact on the world. We should all strive to make that level of impact because it just so when you think about what you're going through and what you think about yourself, remember that you are enough just as you are, and be who you are, and let the world see that person.
Yes. Yes.
Hmm.
Beautiful.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing. My heart is warming. For me, I will say to my younger self, like 35 years ago, because my mom spread her wings at that time. I will say to my younger self, you might not be able to see or hug or talk to your mom. She's still there aside you. And the next 2 years would have been really difficult for you, and at the same time keep shining and go around people that are supporting you and elevating you, and go away from people that are shaming you, because it's all about selecting our people around us. Is these people elevating me, or is these people belittle me, bullying me, or downsizing me? So that's my word for my inner child also, because my inner child is still having, I have multiple versions, but I have an inner child of 7 years old and an inner child of 13 years old that is still in the dark. But day after day, until my last breath, I will always do my best to say to my inner child, you are loved as you are. This is not your fault. And that's why I was also connecting with the amazing guy with dog. Like, you are a good boy. You are a good boy. This is not your fault, So it's like we need to. That's amazing, because you can talk to dogs, and you can also talk to your inner child like that. Probably, you're a boy, but So thank you everyone for your time. That is not replaceable. You are warming my heart by your presence, and also in the audience and the replay team. Thank you, and keep shining, keep doing your best, and each others together, elevating. Thank you. See you the next Saturday with probably the same or new faces. It's really to you are giving me the energy to go forward, and sometimes I have also to give it to myself. So that's my my challenge, my next goal. So with that, I'm going to close very the room, and in 10-15 seconds, feel free to say your last goodbye.
Thank you
Bye,
all for being
everybody.
here.
Goodbye for now.
Yes. Have a great
Yeah,
weekend.
and comment either replay or what resonated with you in the comments, because we'd
Yes.
like to